Trumpty Dumpty. You got to go back to the early summer of 2015 to see this. Now, the Wall Street Journal opinion page has been tough on Trump consistently. But the Post now, brutal. The Daily News also. He's just not looking well there. I don't know. They may
That's some photo editing.
That might be some photo editing, but Trump's big fail also.
He is going to see that. He is going to go insane.
He's going to go insane. He's going to blame his wife again. By the way,
How about that?
pro tip to guys: don't. When things are going bad, don't blame your wife. But anyway, let's get back to the New York Post. This is pretty big. I mean, listen, Murdoch has never liked Donald Trump. Never liked him. Put up with him. He knew that it was good business. But, man, they have turned on him, and they're looking, Vaticanologists tell me they're looking actually at Youngkin. They like Youngkin a lot. And they'll deal with DeSantis, but they want this guy gone.
Yeah, the last couple days have shown that. And we've seen cracks, too, in the narrative at Fox News as well. Online, but also now on the air, spilling over to say, how did this happen? I mean, they were dumbstruck by the results of the election Tuesday night. And it all leads back to Donald Trump. There's no avoiding that. I mean, you can make the case that they had bad candidates. Well, a lot of those bad candidates were there because of Donald Trump.
Well, exactly.
So all roads lead back to him. And they believe if Tuesday night was any indication of where things headed, they just can't afford, even politically, to have him still pulling the strings on the party.
Well, and Gene, why are we talking about this off the top? We're talking about it, first of all, because this drives so much Republican thinking.
It sure does.
I know, inside and outside of my family. And that impacts the base. But also, you see the conservatives that are attacking him, and we're going to be talking about this soon. People who call themselves conservatives that aren't actually conservative, Trumpists, and you realize we may be moving toward not the end.
Maybe
not the beginning of the end, but as Churchill said.
End of the beginning, maybe. I mean, we've called that end of the beginning thing before, right? I know
exactly.
I have. But no, this really seems different because it's so concrete. They were so sure they were just going to sweep to these big majorities in the House and the Senate, and it was going to be, happy days are here again, or the Republican version of that, and it absolutely ain't that. So it's they got to look at Trump, who was responsible for a lot of this. They also need to look at those exit polls. They need to look at those issues that voters were concerned about. They were concerned about democracy. They were concerned about abortion. And yes, they were concerned about inflation. Right. But it wasn't all inflation. There are other things, and they are on the wrong side of these issues.
Most of the issues. I just want to say really quickly, there are people on Twitter going, everybody got it wrong. Everybody said this. Everybody said that. I must say, what we said all along was, first of all, everything we say is wrong. But that was the prelude to say, we don't know what's going to happen. But we did keep saying, and I'm not bringing this up to say we were right. I'm bringing this up to say it's shocking what some of these polling aggregate places were doing. They made it look like a wave election by putting in a bunch of BS Republican polls, putting in a bunch of BS slanted polls. And we kept saying, and the people who really know kept saying, this doesn't feel like a normal wave year. It could be. It should be. You look at inflation, you look at what people are saying, it should be a wave year. It never felt like one to us here.
Yeah, should was the operative word there. By historical trends, we bored people to death with the number, but the plus 28 is the average in the last 90 years of what the out party picks up in the House. It's going to be a small handful. They were talking, 3 nights ago, the Republicans were saying, is it going to be 30? Is it going to be 40? Is it going to be 50 seats? How historic is it going to be? Inflation, as you mentioned. A president, Joe Biden, that they thought was weak. They thought they had a crime going for them, the immigration crisis, everything that you fold into that number. And it did not materialize. And that can't all just be terrible candidates. They had a handful of those for sure, but there was something else going on.
And again, on the expectations games, you would have, again, some very well-known polling sites that would have these BS polls. And they were saying to the very end, that Washington State was going to be
Right.
competitive, Colorado was going to be competitive, that New Hampshire was going the Republicans' way. It was just all a huge, massive lie. And I hope that, and some of these people are very well known, were being very angry that anybody would question that this might be a split down the middle.
Absolutely. And, you know, what I kept wondering was, if anybody who's been paying attention to U.S. politics since like 2015, why would you think that any election is that predictable?
It never is.
Because
Yeah.
the unexpected always happens. That's our politics these days. Country is polarized in a way that it hasn't been in my lifetime. I'm not saying it's the most polarized ever, but it hasn't been like this. Dobbs was an earthquake. It just seemed to me like an inherently unpredictable situation, and I never bought into these polls just saying that, oh, well, you know, wave. It
Right.
just didn't seem right.
And Willie, you had these things that we had worried might be too abstract for voters. One, not Dobbs. One of them was January the 6th, and we kept saying, right, this obviously, we're horrified by this. Is this going to be brought home to people? And I really do believe Paul Pelosi being attacked by a guy quoting MAGA. And it wasn't just the attack, because as we know, there are people who are crazy on both extremes. And both extremes, obviously very capable of violence. Just ask Steve Scalise. But the reaction of Republicans, the reaction of Donald Trump, the mocking, the ridicule, the hatred, it actually, they drew a straight line from January 6th, which may have been a little too abstract. Maybe we're a couple of years for some voters. And they brought it all the way to Election Day. The Republicans, the hatred, the animosity, all the things that we were talking about and asking, why are they being this way? Show a little grace. They actually pulled January 6th and the threat of political violence coming from the MAGA right, pulled it right to Election Day, and they paid for it.
Very specifically, I wonder how many votes that smirk is costing Carrie Lake right now. You know, the way she reacted.
Keeping it close.
And by the way, some of those people have learned nothing. The jokes about the attack on Paul Pelosi continue. We're going to show that in just a minute. But